Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I'm Chase Earl, joined by Jake Gordon and Alex Lord. The left field situation for the Braves was probably the biggest question mark slash DH coming into the season. But if spring training results are any sign of things to come, the Braves are going to be just fine. Now, that doesn't usually always mean they translate. Oftentimes they don't translate. But let's start with Marcell Ozuna. Started slow. Brian Snitker guarantees him a spot on the opening day roster after everyone was like, oh, he's going to get released. So he's not getting released. He's going to be on the opening day roster. And since that moment, he's been one of the hottest hitters of Braves spring training. Average up to 321, OPS well over 800. If that's the Marcell Ozuna the Braves are getting, if he can even hit 260, this lineup is probably the best in baseball.
Yeah, it's definitely up there. And Marcell Ozuna is not the only one playing well. I hope he does play well. Obviously, the Braves are paying him a lot of money, and it would be a very shocking turn of events if he ended up finishing out his contract.
Yeah, imagine that. Imagine saying that a couple months ago. Ozuna finishes out his contract. You know, a lot of people, myself included, took Alex Anthopoulos' words of meritocracy as, you know, his roster spot was in jeopardy with a bad spring training. And before Brian Snitker said that, you know, he was struggling, leading everybody, including us, to, you know, kind of speculate Ozuna's spot could be in jeopardy. In fact, it wasn't. And meritocracy basically just means, you know, he might not play. But if he's playing like this, he'll be in the roster most day, or he'll be on the in the lineup card most days.
He'll be in the lineup every day if he's playing like this. I mean, if he's hitting 300, he's going to be in the lineup every day. I mean, he's too good offensively. I like his approach at the plate. It looks much different, but I'm cautiously optimistic. I mean, I've been cautiously optimistic about him all offseason. I just think he's too good not to figure it out. Now, knowing that he has the organization has his back. I think that's key. I think that I don't think it's a coincidence that Brian Snitker says that and he goes out and starts playing a lot better. You give the guy at bats, he's going to end up being your best option as the DH long term. I firmly believe that. But let's talk about Eli White. The guy comes in here. He has like a career 500 OPS. He's basically known as a defensive specialist. He's elite defensively, like plays Gold Glove defense, but he's not a starter, so he's not going to win a Gold Glove. Very good speed. And that's really all you need with a DH. You're not going to have a bunch of pinch hit situations. So that alone, I thought, gave him a chance of making the roster. But the guy comes into spring training. He's hit 3 home runs last year in 37 games, 105 plate appearances. He has that already in spring training in 28 at bats. He has 6 extra base hits. His OPS is well over 1,000. Now,
1.5.
I don't think that's sustainable, but he is making a very good case to make the opening day roster over guys like Kevin Pillar, Jordan Luplow, who just came back and he has been doing well. The only reason I don't think he's going to make it, unfortunately for him, is because he has options. You can stash him in Gwinnett, and you don't need to bring him up. And you can stash him in Gwinnett and see if this offensive resurgence is legit, rather than losing a player you might. I think Hilliard, he's been great. Has like a 930 OPS this spring. I think he's a lock. He has no options. He's a lock. You can pencil him into the opening day roster. If you haven't heard that, you heard it here first. Then I think it comes down to, I think it's going to be Luplow because of his experience. And then I think White ends up getting left off. But he's a great depth piece to have. That's something the Braves don't really have in Gwinnett, and he's a great depth piece to have.
Well, you talk about White and how he's developed as a hitter, at least in the spring so far. You got to think that's something that he would want to continue and have some continuity with, especially with how shaky left field is for the Braves. It's not every day you go from being, one of the last guys on the Rangers bench to being a potential call up for a contender if you can play well enough. And so I think there should be some interest there. But Hilliard's the one I'm excited about because we've talked about this before. But 2022, he was in the 97th percentile for exit velocity. And if they unlock something in his swing, he's going to start absolutely knocking the cover off the ball. In 2020, he was in the 98th percentile for foot speed. And last year, he was 92nd percentile for arm strength. So he has tools. If they can unlock his swing, he's also a really good player.
He's also 6'5", 240. And Fangraphs did a piece. I've talked about this before, but they talked about how with the shift ban, he was one of the most shifted hitters. He tried to go the other way, which took away from his strengths, which is ripping the ball, pulling the ball with power, big body, and hitting as hard as you can and forgetting about, I need to hit it the other way. And they said, if he takes that out of his mind with the shift ban in place, he could be a guy that hits 20, 25 homers, gives you good defense, and all of a sudden is your starting left fielder. Now, I'm not going to go that far, but he definitely has earned a roster spot, and the upside is there for that to happen, especially if Marcell Ozuna struggles.
Yep, to all that, once again, these are reclamation projects, specifically Eli White I've talked about. He came into camp talking about how he felt he has found something. He said, I wasn't going to be Barry Bonds, but he was like, I'm going to be better. And Sam Hilliard, I mean, the Braves coaching staff is just unbelievable. So I'm not too surprised one of these guys is turning up. All of them is a little bit surprising. And Pilar, with the most experiences and the best track record offensively, is doing the worst.
Yeah,
Strange.
but he's also on a minor league deal, so he'll be stashing Gwinnett too. So you have depth there. And listen, I'm not one of those Alex Anthopoulos is infallible, like he can't make mistakes. I think he has made mistakes, even though I do think he's also the best GM in baseball. But what he is the best at, I think, is finding these under-the-radar guys that may have a little kink in their swing, figuring it out, and making the most of them. He does it every year.